Hey guys, thanks for joining us tonight. We have a very special guest. We have Eric Lee, co-founder of LinkedIn, founder of Hub, and with partnership with Hub and Startup Grind Berkeley and Asian Hustle Network, we're super excited to bring Eric on the show. So first of all, I want to thank Lisa Ma for making this all possible. All the credit goes to Lisa. All the planning sessions that we had, it's all Lisa taking initiative. So major props to Lisa. Thank you so much for that. And if you guys haven't already, please post your questions inside Facebook Live or Hub. We'll be taking questions during this fireside chat, so pretty exciting. And if you guys haven't already, please sign up on Hub. It's a great platform to connect with peers, especially after this event, to connect and ask each other's questions. So we're gonna wait about 1 more minute before we start. So you guys wanna start asking your questions. This is the perfect time to do that, and we can compile it. And I'm not sure you guys see everyone else in the panel, but we have Michelle Hanabusa, we have Tammy Cho, we have Eric Lee. I'm not sure, I only see myself on Facebook Live, which is not good. Okay, so we're gonna get started. So I wanna introduce Eric Lee, the co-founder of LinkedIn and founder of Hub. Eric, we're really honored to have you here tonight. Appreciate your time and coming on board. Can you please start with a small introduction on yourself and talk about a little bit more about Hub and your inspiration behind it?
Yeah, sure thing, Brian, and everyone at the Asian Hustle Network. Great to be with you guys. Really excited to join on this new virtual event format with everyone here. So just to introduce myself, I am I grew up in Silicon Valley, and I've been a serial entrepreneur. Have been in tech for most of my professional career. I started kind of playing with computers when I was 9 years old, and it just became a passion. So I'm really glad that I'm able to do my work based on my passion. I've started numerous software companies. The one that the most about so far is LinkedIn, where I was one of the co-founders. And that was a tremendous experience, which I hope we'll talk more about tonight. We will. But Hub is really in a way expanding on the work of LinkedIn to kind of create more meaningful interactions among people who have like-minded interests, whether it's entrepreneurship, the arts, other areas, so we're really trying to build on top of these kind of social networks. There was really kind of a first generation, and we're working on a second generation now that is more meaningful and more valuable in terms of creating value for users out there in the world.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. I just want to dive a little bit more deeper into Hub. So you mentioned that you were inspired to have a system where you use blockchain to help verify each other's backgrounds. Can you kind of walk us through like that technology that you use, like the blockchain technology, and how it kind of works and integrates into your new company and new product?
Yeah, I'll try to summarize the blockchain white paper that we wrote in a span of 30 seconds.
So we want to hear deeper, Eric.
There you go. There you go. I think one thing that I really realized, a few years ago about LinkedIn and all the things that have happened with social networks in general is that, more and more people are connecting, online. And in the case of LinkedIn, for example, people are connecting, professionally. And there needs to be, this sense of trust among people, for different kinds of opportunities to, move forward, whether it's friendships or business relationships. And that was something that, I realized was maybe an opportunity to improve upon in terms of, today's existing, platforms. So while people make it, have an easy time to, get in touch with each other, there still needs to be the spaces of, trust. And that's where the blockchain, really did, come in, because in the area of blockchain projects, there's this really large area that is going to be emerging in the next couple of years called digital identities, or in the blockchain space, decentralized identities. And it's really about having a more authentic identity, having verified identities, and also identities that you can take with you from one community or platform to the next. And there's some really elegant ideas that I think the blockchain technology is actually offering. And so we're very interested in that, and we're interested in the form of reputation, in terms of when you are meeting somebody for the first time and the relationship could potentially be very important. You really do want to have that trust with the other person that you're meeting. And so how can you create that? And so what Hub is really forming these communities around certain topics, certain industries, and enabling people to connect with one another through content, through events, by direct interaction. But by doing all that, having a platform that kind of helps people develop a really great reputation. So be they an influencer, be they an expert, we want to reflect those things so that other people in the community can see that, and they can benefit from their reputation. And so that's what we're trying to do at Hub, is to enable that across many different kinds of communities.
Yeah, so it looks like we have a couple of questions that came in. So I don't want to have all the fun by myself. I'm gonna call out some of my panel people to ask the first question. Tammy, do you want to ask that first question inside the QA section?
Yeah, so I can go ahead and ask the first question here for our anonymous attendee. So what is the future of edtech startups? Do you see an intersection between blockchain and education?
Well, I do believe that blockchain is going to affect all the different industries that we know today, and it's going to be very valuable. Just one of the examples, for example, for us in terms of the intersection between education and blockchain is in terms of just verifying people's backgrounds, right? And so when people get a job, oftentimes their backgrounds, especially their education background, needs to be verified, right? Do they have a degree? Do they go to a school that they claim to? Do they have certain certifications? And those things, today are, that information is actually dispersed all over the place. And one of the possibilities of blockchain is that it allows these credentials to be encoded on a blockchain, so that it becomes part of someone's identity, right? And so when it comes time to, get a job, or even to, move from one country to another country to have a job, that those kind of, checks can happen a whole lot faster. People can take that information, once it's confirmed, and move it, show that to the new employer. And that's going to help make employment processes a lot faster, and also help, people get economic opportunities a whole lot faster. So that's just one of the, many ways I believe that blockchain is really going to help increase the, efficiencies around, education and, the seeking of opportunities.
Awesome. And Maggie's going to ask the next question on Facebook Live.
The question is, my friend is a recent graduate in computer science and is looking for work as a software engineer. In the midst of this challenging time due to COVID-19, how can individuals make themselves stand out for entry-level positions in tech?
Yeah, that's a great question, and we're all obviously impacted by the current situation. But I've always been a firm believer, that in times of crisis, that there are new opportunities that emerge. People are definitely getting negatively impacted, but at the same time, there are new opportunities that are rising. Companies are still hiring, and they're hiring in new places as the situation demands. And I do believe that technology, especially software, has a lot to offer. So, I recently read an article about how, in Singapore, they're really, expanding on this contact tracing, concept where they're, looking at, the activity of people through their cell phones and using that to identify, how the infections of the coronavirus is spreading. And so that's kind of an example of a new application that we wouldn't have even thought about a week ago. And now it's so important now to look into this. So, we all need to kind of, assign ourselves to the problems that need addressed today and, see how we can be useful. But there's definitely opportunity. And I believe that the world is not going to end up in the same place as where we began before this, outbreak happens. But, it's going to be a very interesting time as we try to solve some of these, very new problems that are affecting us as a world.
Okay, perfect. Michelle, do you want to read the next question in the QA section?
So the next question is from Jason. LinkedIn is enormously valuable, way more so than the $30 per month you charge me, but don't tell anyone that. But now that you're out of the business, how do you think they should deal with the spam issue? Because that side of it is becoming a drag.
Yeah, thanks for that question. And, by the way, I've heard perhaps all the positive things that has been said about LinkedIn, as well as maybe all the negative things or challenges that have been said about LinkedIn, as well. And I think that there are possibilities for a platform like LinkedIn to be enhanced in certain ways. I think by and large, LinkedIn has proven very valuable, and I'm very fortunate to have been a part of it. But you're right. I think one of the things, about LinkedIn and other social networks is that it is very easy to become friends with other people, right? To the extent that a friend on a social network doesn't have the same meaning as a friend in the real world. And so same thing with, contact and that sort of thing. And I think that this shows an opportunity that we're trying to solve at Hub, actually, is to, assign some kind of value to people contacting each other or being contacted. And actually kind of passing that value in a decentralized way, so that, it's not necessarily the platform that benefits from that, but it's actually the person who is motivated to, be receiving, meaningful requests and messages and to benefit, from that. So I believe there are models where we can kind of rearrange the, incentives around contact to really make the contact more meaningful between people, so that there is, less spam. So this is an area that, in particular with Hub, we've been very concerned with, and I mean, in terms of solving, right? And so definitely encourage you to, check it out, and we're constantly improving on the platform. But it is an area that we completely agree that, is an area for enhancement beyond, what is available on the LinkedIn platform.
That's a great answer, Eric. So you guys, please sign up for Hub. It's an awesome platform.
Thanks.
So the next question is by John Kim. Has your roadmap for a Hub accelerator or any specific areas of product development has been reprioritized as a result of the COVID-19 outbreak? And what is the new normal for like the correctness part? Is there an answer there?
Yeah, I can take a shot, for that. So, we obviously can't get together, as we'd like to, and I really believe in the value of, people getting together, in events, and we believe that there's a strong link between, events and communities. And given that we all can't get together today, we've been getting a lot of requests about so-called virtual events. And so this is one of those. We're having a virtual events, but there's a lot of people, who run traditional events who've been very interested to get into virtual events. And some of them even believe that this, could be the new normal. And so we've been trying to do everything that we can, with our hub platform to better support virtual events, right? And we do believe that this is going to be a new format that's going to be very useful. It has a few advantages that live events don't have. One is that it's easier for people to get together, right? They don't have to travel and get a hotel and suffer from jet lag, all that sort of stuff. And then the other thing is that, we're just doing it here, where, we have a global community who is participating in this. And that's, impossible to do with a live event. And so we're seeing some benefits, some true benefits from this. And so that's why we believe it's going to, be a new form that's going to be very effective. The live events are never going to go away. And I really, still believe in those. But we're going to see a combination. And, we want Hub to be, right there in terms of, supporting not only live events, but especially the virtual events. And that's certainly something that has come up, very recently for us because of this COVID-19 situation.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, given the whole COVID-19 outbreak, we have been shifting a lot more to virtual conferences. And it's great that you guys already kind of position yourself in that way, so we could take advantage of, living this new normal that we're on right now. So major props to that. So the next question, Tammy, are you ready? QA?
Sure. All right, so I'll ask a question from Car. What are the biggest challenges you see in the emerging virtual and work from home environments? How do we overcome those and simulate the intimacy of in-person meetups?
Wow, great question. Can we hire you to help us figure that out?
My friend, by the way.
I mean, it's frankly a great question. And I see some questions about using VR and XR tools. That might be part of the answer as well. To be honest, I think we're all still kind of figuring that out. I think one of the ideas is can we simulate some of the activities or aspects that go on in live events in the digital realm. So here right now we're sharing a discussion, an AMA, with a wide audience. We're going to go into breakout rooms pretty shortly. But there's another aspect of live events that is very interesting, which is that kind of one-on-one interaction that we have with each other that leads to really valuable relationships. And that's something that is also very important to us as well. And so we've been trying to have those meaningful connections between one person and another. And that's something that we want to support better as well. So all the different aspects of these live events, if we can bring them over to the digital realm, that would be awesome as well. One of the things that we've been working a lot with, especially Lisa in recent days, is sponsors are an important part of events, and how can we carry sponsors into the digital realm as well and give them visibility to audiences.
Yeah.
So.
And for those guys on Facebook Live, if you guys can join Zoom real quick on Hub, we're going to do a breakout session via Zoom. You guys can do a quick networking event with each other. Just really embrace the new normal, right? So we're going to offer you guys opportunity to network around virtually and find people in your particular industry that you want to meet, network, and ask questions with. So that's good. Hey, Maggie, you want to ask a question from Facebook Live?
Yeah, we have a question from Ben Cannon, and he says, Eric, with the world discovering we can work from home this entire time, do you think society will continue to embrace a new way of production? What kind of emerging productivity tools do you foresee?
So ironically, in times like this, it is really those companies that are working on tech platforms that enable us to connect digitally that are really seeing a lot of interest, right? And so I've been on Zoom almost continuously the last week since we've been sheltered in place here in California, using my AirPods continuously, as well. So, and I do believe that there are kind of new forms to come as well, in terms of technology supporting us to connect digitally. So it really is limited only to the imagination. I've been reading, for example, of this is the moment in time when telemedicine is really gonna become more mainstream, right? Because now doctors and patients can't be co-located, that sort of thing. So telemedicine is becoming very important as well. So I think we're just going to see opportunities, not only in kind of the spaces that we're using, that we're used to today, but also in different domains. We've been talking to a lot of folks who are turning their restaurants into delivery outlets, right? Instead of having people eat food in their restaurants, they're delivering out there as well. And they're doing tremendous hiring because of that. So I think we're going to see tools that support all those different possibilities, and we're learning through this in terms of the new opportunities that exist for technologies to support those kind of new use cases.
Definitely, and we'll pick up a question that so we can learn a little bit more about you. So, what is your motivation and your why? Like, what's the main reason why you do the things you do?
Well, I've always been, a creator. I think people want to make their mark in the world in their own unique way, and I've always been, someone who likes to create things and bring value to other people. And so I happen to do it, with software. And that's been my passion. So I'm very fortunate in the sense that I get to do something that I love, and hopefully that makes me decently good at doing those things. And I would love to continue to do it as long as I can. So it's really as simple as that. And no other really kind of ulterior motive. If we will.
That it's awesome. So Maggie, you want to read a question?
Yeah, let me ask the next question in the Q&A section. So it says, question for panel. I had several final round interviews the past few weeks that have taken longer than usual to get back to me on decisions or next steps. What do you think is the best posture to take without being pushy, given some hiring decisions might get delayed or budgets might be reevaluated?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, I would say that, you're not alone. We're hearing from all different quarters how, people, I think employers and companies are just really trying to deal with the, current situation, many unanticipated situations that they have to deal with. And so a lot of processes that were proceeding normally have just slowed down, just for kind of emergency purposes. What I would encourage you to do is, there's so many answers, and you should never feel like, discouraged. In every problem, there are opportunities. And so, one thing I would do is that, for your current, job opportunities, you should try to understand what, the company, what the employer is going through, and see if you can even suggest to them, to be proactive. Like, hey, maybe there's a different, way that they could be employing you to handle something that is more urgent at the moment, to really, take a proactive approach. Employers really appreciate that because they, are looking for helpful people. So that's one thing. The other thing is that, there are these new opportunities that are popping up. And so if you're, I would try to find some new opportunities maybe that you hadn't considered before, and especially ones that are of interest to you, and see if those are going to provide more traction to you to you get that position faster. So I would totally not be discouraged and be encouraged in terms of what's happening in the current situation, the current world, and be flexible and adapted to that.
Wow, great answer, Eric. Thank you. Hey, so next question: who was your first mentor, and why? And why do you think this? And why do you think they were a good fit for you?
Well, I hadn't been asked that for ever maybe, but I remember when I was in elementary school, and, again, I've shared that I've started playing around with computers since I was a kid, so I really didn't learn about computers in school. I just remember when I was in school, there was this one computer teacher who just somehow took an interest in me, and I guess I was playing around with the computers in his lab, and he kind of took me aside and said, hey, you really seem to have a passion, and if not a talent for this, and I'm really going to watch out for you. I'm really going to find some opportunities for you, and it was really special that he recognized that and did that, because I felt like all the effort that I put in up until that time, I mean, I was doing it for myself, but it was great to have some recognition for that, and that really encouraged me to continue on and try to work even harder, improve myself to do even better in this kind of field.
Wow.
So I think teachers are really special. I can remember now that there's been a few occasions through my life where a teacher kind of recognizes you, or takes you aside and really tries to be helpful, and those are the most rewarding moments of all the schools that I've been to. Those are the occasions that I really remember the most and treasure the most.
That's great. Michelle, do you want to read the question by Bill Imada?
Yes, sure. So the next question is: the rise in COVID-19 cases around the US and even around the world has been tied to a rise in hate crimes, bullying, and discriminatory actions against the individuals of Asian and Pacific Islander heritage. Asian Americans like you have a positive, enduring impact on our ability to change the way we stay connected through Hub and LinkedIn. Is there a role you and others can play to address this rise in hate crimes? And what is something that Asians and Asian Americans can do to be a part of the solution that you so eloquently articulated earlier? Looking for something positive.
Thank you,
Hey,
Bill.
Bill, thanks for your question. And I understand I'm going to get a chance to talk to you further later on, which I'm looking forward to. Yeah, I think that's a really awesome question. And I do believe that we all in the Asian community have a role to play in this, is to I think where hate comes from is from ignorance a lot of times, and the role that we can play is really to shine a light and become more visible, become more visible contributors to the communities that we live in, and get rid of that ignorance that it exists. So I don't believe that this is a Chinese virus. I believe that this is just a situation that we all in the world have to be dealing with, and to the extent that we can get out there and show people of other ethnicities that we're just people too. We have our dreams, we have our challenges, and we're just like every other normal people. I think that's going to be the way to a better future. And so we all have responsibility to reflect that to the communities that we live in. And and I hope we can all do more,
Yeah.
in that area.
I love that answer too. So about 15 minutes, we're going to talk about our campaign. So Hate is the Virus campaign that Michelle, Tammy, and I will be talking about. But we're just trying to do our part to make that influence and that difference to stop all the racism and xenophobia that's going on in the world. Okay, we'll continue. How was your early days? How has your early hub startup journey been different or similar to your early LinkedIn startup journey? What are you enjoying / appreciating more this time around?
Well, you really want to get into that, huh?
I'm not asking if his members are.
I mean, these are all really good questions. I mean, I think there's, at LinkedIn, I was a co-founder, and Reid Hoffman, who I have, tremendous respect for, was really the main founder. And there is a big difference, right, between being, one of the people around the table versus, being kind of the main person, right? Like at Hub, I'm essentially occupying the role that he had at LinkedIn. And I don't think I fully appreciated that, until I kind of got into the role. And so what I've learned over the years is, since LinkedIn, is that you develop a sense for how to deal with a wide variety of different situations that you don't otherwise have. And so today I think I'm a more complete person because of just going through the school of in a way. It might look easy, but I've definitely gone through the school of hard knocks. And you learn a lot in that, but you emerge, I think, a better person, more capable for it. And I think that's a badge of courage and honor that I wear as a result of experiences that I've had.
Love it. Hey Tammy, do you want to read the question by Luke Kim?
Sure. All right, so this one is from Luke Kim. You were there in the earliest years of LinkedIn. LinkedIn was founded in 2003, but in your profile, it's shown that you were active as a co-founder from 2002. Tell us that story, your team, your early stage leadership, and how your journey evolved from LinkedIn towards new horizons. What was that like?
Yeah, there's a lot of great stories. 2002 was kind of like it is right now in a very interesting way. I mean, it was the .com boom and bust had just happened, and so I remember back in 2002 there were no investors who, believe it or not, wanted to invest in internet companies.
Wow.
And so here we were trying to start an internet company, fully realizing that the internet space was down in the doldrums, and kind of like the blockchain space is frankly right now. But those of us who were part of LinkedIn, just we really believed in what we were doing. To be honest, we had no idea how successful we were going to be. We just thought we were interested in doing what we were doing, so we banded together. We just kept our heads down, and we worked to create this platform. And in a few months we shipped it. Again, we had no idea how whether it was going to be successful. And to be honest, we had very modest goals. We wanted to ship, and if we had some users who were going to find it useful, I think that was the reward for us. And so we were mostly doing it for ourselves. Fortunately, though, I think a lot of people saw the value of what we were doing, and it took off. It did take quite a long time. LinkedIn was one of those 10-year overnight successes.
Oh, wow.
And so you wake up one day and it's like too big to fail, but it took a long time to get there. So that was kind of the journey. And so history does seem to have a way to repeat itself, and so even in times like this, I think in some ways it's the best time to be starting a company.
Wow, that's amazing. I just want to let you know that you were our inspiration for our Facebook group. We wanted to be the LinkedIn Facebook group of Asian professionals. So you're our hero. We model ourselves after you.
You're very kind. You're very kind. I have to live up to that reputation.
Okay, Maggie, you want to ask some questions Facebook Live?
Yes, we have a question from Justin Lee. What is one habit or routine that you find the most helpful to your life? How about one that is detrimental that you recently shed or are working on shedding?
Wow, these are such great questions. I'm being forced to answer honestly, probably. I think one of the things that I learned, in recent years was to really have my own way, to really listen more to my inner self. I think one of the aspects of living in this very fast-paced startup culture is that you're constantly bombarded by all sorts of different let's call them distractions, people who want a part of your time. And I just I some years ago I realized my work is just trying to get back to everyone. I'm not doing anything that I want to do, or that I believe is important. And I know my team hates this, but I'm not as on email. I'm not on email as often as some other people, and so it might take a long time for me to get back to people. And to be honest, it's intentional, because if I spend my entire day or most of my day on email, I'm just doing what other people want me to do, and I'm not doing what I believe is important. So I've learned to cultivate, and it's been difficult, a sense of what's important. There's so many inputs coming at me, and I have to take all those. And as a leader, I think it's kind of important that you figure out what's the priority, what's important to focus on out of all the things that are kind of grabbing at your attention. And so I try to cultivate that sense of just figuring out among all the demands what is really important to focus on. And I hope that because of that, I'm adding more value to the company that I'm working with, the team that I'm working with, and so that's something that I've done. I've also learned the importance of just being actually well rested, and being able to focus. I mean, it's more of a physical and mental thing, but you can't make good decisions. You cannot make good decisions when you're tired, or when you're overworked. And I used to do that, much more when I was younger. I would, as they say, I would burn the candle from both ends. And I think there are limits to that. So I try to live, a somewhat more balanced life. People around me would say that I'm not actually doing that. I'm actually still burning the candle from both ends. But at least for me, I'm taking more of a measured pace, in terms of working, which I believe is actually helping the people around me.
I like that a lot. Sometimes you have to focus on yourself first in order to help more people, and that feels like that's exactly what you're doing. All right.
Yep.
Appreciate that. So next question: for each of the companies that you started, how did you know the time has come on? How do you know wait, hold on. How did you know when the time has come to move on from one opportunity to the next?
Yes, I have encountered this question, and I have a good friend who even blogged about this question, who was a famous venture capitalist. Man, it's such a judgment call. I don't believe there's a right answer. on the one hand, as an entrepreneur, you're supposed to be, persistent and have perseverance and to not give up. And on the other hand, you're supposed to, make smart decisions and know when to fold it. I mean, I think the best I can say is, persistence and perseverance are very important qualities of entrepreneurship. As long as you have, some ideas that you want to continue to try, you should pursue that. But you should also test those ideas to see if they, are going to be viable, right? Are they going to be, practical enough that you're going to get to a better place? And so as long as you have those things, you should keep on trying. But if you don't see it, then maybe it is time to consider changing tracks and trying something completely something else completely different. So but it's so much of a judgment call. I don't think there's necessarily one perfect answer for that question.
Yeah, definitely. So guys, we have 4 more minutes of Eric's time. So we're gonna ask about 2 more questions. You want to ask one question on Facebook Live or ask one question from the QA section?
Okay, we have a question from Jagd. This question is, will the hub make virtual interactions more collaborative with VR/XR tools?
Yeah, I mean, we hope so. I think there's a whole ton of things that are coming that will allow us to interact more, in the digital, realm. I'm honestly very excited about kind of the possibilities of AR as it relates to human interactions, and this kind of whole situation that we often find ourselves in, where we're at we're meeting somebody, we don't know them that well, and maybe we don't remember their name, and maybe we don't even remember how we met them in the first place, and so to be able to have a augmented reality where we can pull up that information really allows us to really take advantage of the moment, that when we're talking to somebody, and we can make that time more useful. And so we've seen that opportunity at events, and I would argue that that's going to come in a virtual scenario as well. So I'm frankly very excited that we can facilitate some of those technologies, and we hopefully will be inventors of some of that technology as well. We've done some of that in the past, and definitely looking forward to doing more of that in the future.
Okay, so we have time for one more question. So the question is, have you seen the representation of Asian Americans in tech and finance progress over the past decade? It seems like Asian Americans occupy many entry-level positions, but we rarely see any Asian Americans in more senior level management roles or CEOs like yourself. What do you feel is necessary as Asian Americans to do to change this? Or do you feel like there is something more underlining behind it?
Okay. Well, I mean, I would first note that there are, certainly some very successful Asian entrepreneurs. So the tool that we're using now was started by an Asian founder, Zoom. The co-founder of NVIDIA, we're probably still also using his stuff. It's also Asian. I don't know how much time I have to answer this question, but it's pretty interesting question. I do definitely believe that there is a cultural aspect to why there aren't more Asian leaders, perhaps in business or politics. But I do believe that we need to we need to not blame others for the predicament that we're in, and to take more responsibility for whatever the situation that we're in, and to perhaps work against some of the cultural sensibilities that we grew up with. So we owe it to ourselves. There are, inspirational Asian leaders, around, and we should look to them as, role models. So, for example, the director of Crazy Rich Asians, right? Very successful. And, we can be inspired by people like that. So I think it's within us to, take more leadership positions, and we ought to, have more risk taking out there in the world.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that answer, Eric. Hey, so we actually hit our time limit of 45 minutes. We want to thank you again for your time and being on the AMA. This is our first virtual event as partners together, so I appreciate this partnership a lot. Thank you so much. But yeah,
thank you, Bryan, and everyone for having us and working with us on this event.